birthdays in the spring. I like having a spring birthday. It's kind of a perfect time to have a birthday. It's between all the big holidays. It's after Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, but before Easter and the 4th of July. It's also a surprise every year if it's over spring break or not, or during school. I have had a birthday party every single year since I was born. My family always goes all out for my party, specifically my mom. I have done everything you can think of, from Frozen to Princess to Taylor Swift to a classic pool party. My birthday party is always a time I look forward to. It's always a time to feel so much love from everyone I love. I have a great life, a loving family, a nice home to go home to, a fun school, and so many opportunities. But I've also had a lot of bad stuff happen, stuff like death and fear and injury. I've been through a lot, is what I'm trying to say. The first time I was ever sad was when I found out my grandpa died. I remember 3 things from that day: the before, the during, and the after. It was September of 4th grade, and it was a normal day. No, it was a good day. I got out of school and rode the bus with Chloe to Pineview, where my mom teaches. When we got off the bus, we walked across campus to my mom's class, and when school let out, she all took us to get frozen yogurt. After we went home, my family gathered us together and told us that he had died. There's a scene in How I Met Your Mother where Robin and Barney had both agreed to break up with their partners so they could be together because they were in love. Once they broke up with their partners, they were supposed to meet at McLaren's at midnight. Barney broke up with Nora, but Robin didn't break up with Kevin. She couldn't. Robin walked into McLaren's and Barney's face lit up, and then he saw Kevin behind her and his smile dropped. He looked at Robin confused, and she just looked back at him and shook her head no. Suddenly, Barney's glass dropped in slow motion as everyone on screen froze except for Barney. Ted came over in a voiceover and said that this was Barney's everlasting second. The moment that would play in his head over and over again. As he said this, there was an audio playing of a clock ticking. It's a really sad moment, but it's a real moment. I believe everyone experiences an everlasting second at one point or another. And I believe my everlasting second was when I found out my grandfather died. Just like the show, the room went silent when my parents told us. I can remember Chloe crying and Will asking a bunch of questions. I, however, couldn't cry. I couldn't talk. I kept thinking to myself that it wasn't true. I had heard his voice the day before and he was great. He was healthy. He died in his sleep, they said. He died just a couple hours after I had heard his voice. I didn't understand how the universe could be so cruel. I didn't understand how they could take my grandfather away from me. I cried a couple minutes later. It was weird though, because before the sadness came rushing in, all I could feel was confusion and surprise, because the news came out of nowhere. It wasn't the first time I experienced the concept of death. My dog Max had died a few months before, but it was different. I only had him for a couple of months, and he was an animal, not a human I had known my whole entire life. For Christmas, that year, we decided to go on a cruise because it was the first one without my grandfather. My other dog, Louie, stayed at a kennel and passed away on Christmas Eve in his sleep. We found out a couple days later when we were docked. It was hard again. It was hard to be introduced to the concept of death at such a young age. I have 3 scars on my face. They're not very obvious to the eye, but sometimes you can see them really well. A week before my 10th birthday, I went over to my friend Alyssa's house and her dog bit me. I don't remember a lot from that day. Maybe it's because I don't want to, or maybe it's because I have a horrible memory. What I do remember, though, is how numb it felt. It didn't hurt at all, actually, which was weird. I remember the blood all over the floor. I remember Alyssa telling her mom she would clean it up later. I remember going into the bathroom for a towel and seeing my face and screaming. I remember the sound of the screams. I remember how scared Alyssa's mom looked. I didn't know moms could get that scared. She was so scared that when she was trying to call my mom, she put her phone in the freezer, trying to get me an ice pack at the same time. It wasn't her fault, though. We were all scared. I mean, it happened out of nowhere. Nobody could have expected it. I remember how scared I was. I remember being in the car and telling Alyssa and her mom that nobody was ever gonna like me again. I remember thinking that I was gonna be ugly and people were gonna be scared to look at me because of the holes in my face. I remember going to the walk-in clinic and the nurse telling me that I would have to go to the hospital because they didn't have the supplies to fix it. I remember going to the hospital with my parents, sitting in my mom's lap in the back of her minivan. I remember sitting in the hospital waiting room, thinking it was really weird that something was wrong with me, and that's why we were at the hospital. I remember my mom telling me that if I got through the stitches, she would buy me a pink fluffy unicorn. I remember the doctor giving me a dog stuffed animal and naming it Stitches. I'm still really confused why he gave me a dog after getting bit by a dog. Oh, well, I guess. I remember going to Walmart afterwards and my mom getting me a bunch of new food because I couldn't open my mouth fully. And she also got me the unicorn and a unicorn nightgown. I remember not going to school for the next week, and I remember sleeping in my parents' bed that whole week. I remember Chloe bringing me all my classwork and homework for that week. I remember my entire 4th grade class making me get well soon cards. I remember being so scared to go back to school, but when I got there, it was completely fine. Nobody treated me differently, and that was exactly how I wanted it. I remember the plastic surgery sessions afterwards. I remember getting my scars lasered there. I chose not to get them completely lasered, and I'm glad I did. I look different because of my scars. I like having a visual reminder of everything I went through. fourth grade was the worst year of my life. Well, I always thought it was, but maybe, just maybe, it's a spectrum. I've always hated that year and been so sad about it, but there were good things that happened in between all of that bad. Like, you have to find the balance between the good and the bad. Like, the year my grandma moved in with us and I got to spend 3 months during COVID with her. Or the year I got Crockett, my yellow lab. Those were both good. But then there's also the year my grandma passed away. Or when my best friend moved away. Or when I kind of broke up with my first ever boyfriend. Maybe? Still not quite sure about that one. Or my annual Christmas and Halloween sleepovers with Amaya. Or shopping with my mom. Or driving home with ads talking about anything and everything. Or getting my nails done with my sister, or watching How I Met Your Mother with Bryn, or singing lessons with Bear, playing Apple with my family, or watching TikToks with my brother, or getting ready for dances with Sydney, picking up sticks with my dad, FaceTiming Warren, going to the beach with Addie, studying with Gabby. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it takes a storm for a rainbow to appear, right? So, as much as it sucks, it has to rain for a rainbow. If you want your rainbow, you have to power through the storm.
Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow, why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly